I did it. I balanced the ping pong ball in my head. Thank you. You're beautiful. What's up, Falling Spring? It's great to see everyone. I hope you are doing well. When I was in college, walking along campus, there was this little unspoken tradition between guys. I'm not sure if the girls had one, but here's the tradition between the guys. It was unspoken. Nobody said it was a tradition, but this is what happened. You'd be walking along campus, going to your class or going wherever, and another guy would pass and you would make eye contact. And typically the person would nod, one guy would nod, say, "What's up?" And the other guy would nod, say, "What's up?" That's how it was. That was our conversation as we passed people we didn't really know, but we're college students together at the same school. So, what's up? What's up? Sometimes I took that a little further, and if anyone asked me a question, "How's it going? How's it going?" I would just repeat the same question. "What's your name? What's your name?" Got a little weird sometimes, but it was an interesting tradition. And we kind of do the same thing when we use the question, "How are you?" You ever experienced this? "Hey, how's it going?" Or, "Hey, how are you?" "Good. How are you?" "Good." It's almost like a greeting, but we're not really asking the question. If you ever pass someone or see someone and they ask you that question that way, where they're really just saying hi and they say, "Hey, how's it going?" It'd be really funny to just say, "I'm really glad you asked. I got a lot to tell you," and they're probably like trying to get going and continue moving on because it's just a greeting. But how are you? Like, really, I want to ask you that really right now. How are you doing? Like, how are you doing? There's a lot of craziness in the world. We're still living through this pandemic. Today, when I'm recording this, was the inauguration of our new president. As things seemed to go peacefully, things seemed to go well, but there's been a lot of political tension and tension around that event. You've had things in your life as you've been maybe more isolated, things that have just made life difficult. So how are you doing? I'm wondering if any of you are feeling anxious, if you're feeling any sense of anxiety. And if you are, a little or a lot, I want you to really tune in today because I want to share some truth that I really believe is going to help you. Some truth about battling anxious thoughts, battling anxiety. Before we get to that, two things. Number one, anxiety is, I don't believe, something that God wants us to experience. He doesn't want us to experience anxiety because He loves us, but it's a common experience. It's normal in that most or all people experience anxiety from time to time. So if you are or have experienced anxiety, don't beat yourself up. It's a common experience. Number two, the type of anxiety that I'm going to talk about today is not what I'm going to call clinical anxiety, where there's a chemical imbalance in your body and your brain and you need to get clinical professional help for. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the much more common form of anxiety, the type of anxiety that I believe most people experience. And it can be very intense, can be mistaken for clinical, but it's the anxiety that's related to and really caused out of our ego. And I'm going to unpack that a little bit, but I'd like to pray first. Lord, thank you for everyone who is listening to this, watching this. Thank you for connecting us across time and space by your Holy Spirit. I pray, Lord, that you would speak through me today. Give all of us ears to hear what you want to say to help us be less anxious. And by being less anxious, to be more receptive to what you want to do in and through our lives. I pray a blessing over everyone who's hearing this, blessing of hearing and applying your truth. Okay, get your notes out. If you like to write or type or put it in your phone, whatever, I want you to at least write down these passages that I'm going to share with you. Before the passage, though, I want to let you know this is not an easy button. If you're looking for an easy path to battling anxiety, this probably won't help you. It's going to require hearing and applying God's truth. Hearing and applying God's truth. That's not passive, it's active. It's something that you work towards, something that you do. But if you're willing to apply God's truth, this is going to help you. Okay, first passage is 1 Peter 5:7. And Peter says this, "Cast your anxiety on him because he cares for you." what does the word cast mean? I think of fishing. You cast your line out. This is not the type of casting that you do when you fish, because although you throw your line out, you reel it back in. We don't want to cast our anxiety out and then reel it back in. The word cast, the Greek word that's used there, literally means to throw. So this is a better word, I think. Throw your anxiety on him. You take something and you throw it. And you can hear it bouncing in my office, and it's kind of rolling back toward me. But think about taking a rock and throwing it into a lake, gone. Or something and throwing it into the trash, and it's gone. Throw your anxiety on him because he cares for you. God cares for you. That's why he doesn't want you to be anxious. Throw your anxiety on him. So how do we do that practically? For that, we're going to go to Paul in Philippians chapter 4. Paul says this, do not be anxious about anything. All right, let's stop there. Easy for you to say, Paul. You're not living through a pandemic. You don't know what life is like. For me, it's easy for you to say, do not be anxious about anything. But if you've taken a look at my life lately, I have a lot to be anxious about. First of all, Paul had a lot to be anxious about in his life if he wasn't focused. Imprisoned, beaten, tortured, and eventually killed for his faith. Paul's credible. He's the real deal. So we can trust his words, I believe. So he says, do not be anxious about anything. But what should we do instead? Here's what he says. But in every situation, I want to stop there. In every situation. In every situation. That means when life is just ordinary and normal and boring. It means when things are going really well. It means when you're having a really difficult time. It means on the highs and the lows, the good days and the bad days. Every situation. Don't wait to talk to God. Don't wait to do the things that he's going to tell us to do next for special situations. Do them in every situation. Okay, Paul, do not be anxious about anything. What do we do instead? In every situation, by prayer and petition with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. Instead of being anxious, in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. Let's begin with thanksgiving. Gratitude. Gratitude, I believe, is the antidote. It's the enemy of most negative emotions, including anxiety. If you can be genuinely grateful, genuinely thankful, it will help you battle anxiety with thanksgiving. If you don't already do this, I highly encourage you to actually write it, 2 to 3 things, at least, that you're thankful for on a regular basis. I don't do it every day because I just struggle being consistent like that, but I do it on a regular basis. Write down the things I'm thankful for. Sometimes I just verbalize it. Gratitude is the enemy of anxiety. So let's live with gratitude. Okay, he talks about gratitude. Then he talks about prayer and petitions. What are the differences? Prayer is a conversation with God. You know, there have been books written on prayer. You can go so deep into learning about prayer, but let's not overcomplicate it. Prayer is simply having a conversation with God. If you can have a conversation with a person, you can pray. You can have a conversation with God. Prayer and petition. What is petition? I looked this up. Where am I here? An appeal or request, especially a solemn or humble one, to a deity or a superior. A petition is an appeal made by one who is humble, lower, to one who is superior. In other words, it's recognizing, I need help. By prayer and petition, being humble and recognizing, I need help. Now here, you need to understand this. We live in a culture, you are growing up in a culture that is very individualistic. What do I mean by that? It means I can solve my own problems. I can take care of things myself. Let me put fences around my yard and keep people out that I don't want to keep out, and I would just be my individualistic self and take care of myself. Guess what? Culture is wrong. You need help. I need help. So in every situation, by prayer and petition with thanksgiving, we present our requests to God. Tell him, talk to him. I was feeling a little anxious this morning about something, a little stressed. And I just had a conversation with God while I was in the shower, just laying it out, talking to God. I was presenting my requests. I was unloading to the Lord. Petition, we talked about being humble, and this is going to bring us back to 1 Peter 5. We already read verse 7, cast your anxiety on him because he cares for you. Now we're going to back up one verse and read verse 6. Because when you read the Bible, to understand the Bible, you need to know what comes before a passage and what comes after a passage. It's so important to read the Bible in context of what's around it and in context of everything else that is said in Scripture. If you do that, the Bible will make more sense. Verse 6 says this, humble yourselves, therefore, under God's mighty hand, that he may lift you up in due time. Okay, so cast your anxiety on him because he cares for you. He wants to help you with your anxiety. But in order to do that, first you need to humble yourself. Therefore, under God's mighty hand, that he may exalt you, that he may lift you up. Winning the war against anxiety requires humility. It requires humility. And the opposite of humility is pride. I want to talk about pride. Pride leads to anxiety. And I need to explain what I mean by pride. Pride is not, here's not what I'm talking about. When the Bible talks about pride, it is not talking about taking pride in something like your team or your school or a group that you're a part of. Being excited, taking pride in the fact that you are part of that group. That's not the kind of pride that Peter's talking about or that the Bible talks about. It is not talking about feeling proud about an accomplishment. If you do something really well, and you accomplish something, you achieve something, and you feel proud about that, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. That's not what the Bible means when it's talking about pride. Here's what it does mean. Pride is an overestimation or an overinflation of your character and your contributions. It's an overestimation or overinflation of your character and your contributions. In other words, it's thinking you're better than you are. Pride is thinking that you are better than you are and that what you offer other people and what you offer certain situations is better than it really is. It's overinflating yourself. And it also is an unhealthy obsession with you. If I'm being prideful, I'm holding on to an unhealthy obsession with me. What's in it for me? How are people thinking about me right now? When I say this, what's this person going to think about me? When you're too obsessed with you and you're constantly questioning what you look like and what you say and what you do, and you're wondering how are they responding to it, that's pride. Pride will cause you to attempt to impress people you don't even know. That's why some people will take 37 or 57 photographs of themselves until they finally choose one that's good enough to put on Instagram. And then they'll add just the right filter, and they may spend a lot of time doing that. They may even edit the photo to get rid of some blemishes and different things to make it look just right so that they can impress people they don't even know. And some people go through that process and they never find a photo that they like. You may have done that. You think, my smile's not good, my face is crooked, I'm ugly, I'm too thin, I'm too fat, I'm not muscular enough, I'm not this enough, I'm too this. It's an unhealthy obsession with you. Pride. And here's the interesting thing, that I think truly evil thing about pride, is that pride begins with an unhealthy obsession on us. We're trying to actually lift ourselves up. And in doing so, we end up feeling worse about ourselves. It's an attempt to lift up ourselves, and we end up feeling more anxious. Pride leads to anxiety. I wonder what Jesus has to say about this. Matthew 23:12. For those who exalt themselves will be humbled. and those who humble themselves will be exalted. Humility. Humility is taking your eyes off of yourself and shifting your focus onto who God is and onto the people around you, and living out Jesus' great commandment. Love God with everything you have. Love your neighbor as yourself. I believe when you shift the focus off of yourself, when we shift the focus off of ourselves and onto God and others, humbling ourselves, anxiety will decrease and hopefully be completely gone from our lives. You know what happens when you live with pride. It leads to anxiety. Guess what happens when you live with humility? I hope that you find out. I want to close with an exercise. Wherever you are, whoever you're with, I want you to just take your hands and sort of make a cup or a bowl. I think you can see me. Just kind of do this. Don't worry about what anyone thinks about you if you're with your small group or you're around people. Just do this. This is an exercise that I believe is going to help you. And what I want you to do is to look into your hands, and I want you to just imagine every single bit of anxiety that's in you pouring out of you into your hands, pouring out of your heart, pouring out of your mind, pouring out through your eyes, pouring out of your body. Every bit of anxiety, just let it pour out. Go to those anxious places in your heart and mind, those things that bring you anxiety, and just release them into your hands. I want to just give you a moment, maybe a minute to do that. Just think and let go. Release this anxiety. And when you're finished, and by all means, if you need to do this again later, feel free. I want you to just take all this anxiety and just kind of ball it up into one hand, imagining that it's all there and that you squeezed it down. And again, don't worry about what anyone thinks of you. I just want you to take it and I want you to chuck it. I want you to throw it. It doesn't matter what direction you throw it in. It doesn't matter if you feel weird doing it, because wherever you throw it, God's able to take it. As a matter of fact, He's already carried your anxiety for you on the cross. Lord, thank you that you care for us and you invite us to throw our anxiety on you. Help us to learn how to live in humility, to humble ourselves before you, that you can lift us up. Protect us from the temptation to lift up ourselves, to exalt ourselves. Instead, teach us how to humble ourselves. And I pray for everyone who's listening to this right now or watching this, that they really would throw their anxiety on you, that they really would experience freedom. Freedom to love and serve you, the King of Kings and Lord of Lords. God, you're so awesome. In Jesus' name, amen. Falling Spring, I want to let you know that next week we're going to begin a series called God Speaks. I've reached out to a bunch of former Camp Falling Spring speakers. They're all over the country, and pretty much all of them have said yes. And they are going to send me a message. And I just asked them the question, what has God been speaking to you lately? And I can't wait to hear what they have to say. So we will be showing those in the coming weeks and giving you some questions to talk about in your small groups. If you have ideas, if you have questions, if you have concerns, if you have prayer requests, please reach out to me, let me know. Reach out to your amazing small group leaders and all the other amazing youth leaders that we have, and reach out to one another. Better days are ahead. in terms of us being able to gather. And I can't wait to get to that point and to share great news about great opportunities coming up in the future. I love you all and hope you have a great day.